think I'll go back home. I think I'll go back home. I believe I'll go back home and acknowledge I've done wrong. What have I gained by sin, he said, but hunger, grief, and fear? My Father's house abounds in wealth, and I'm a starving here. I'll go back to my Father's house. I'll fall down on my face, saying I'm unworthy to be called your child. I'll just take a servant's place. I think I'll go back home. I think I'll go back home. I believe I'll go back home and acknowledge I've done wrong. My Father's.
Be working on here shortly. Okay, Lee. Gonna be disappointed, but whatever. $180. Said after that one, I'd be down to 190 something, but I paid instead of 56, I paid 65. Yeah, the 56 becomes 65. Yeah. I'm doing good, bud. How you doing? Okay. I don't know why that got messed up, but it did. But it did. How you doing today, sir? We'll give everybody a minute to get in here before we get started. Uncle don't want to go outside. Does your car have AC? Sure to goodness you got AC. That thing you're out around. Not that much. Not in this heat. It's worth it. Use it. Don't sit out there and sweat to death. That's just cray. That's cray. Believe it. Whatever. You'll be okay. Yeah. You're right. You'll be okay. One way or another. Oh boy. I need to find my mic setting that I have on. It does not pick up any background. Up a lot. It picks it up a lot. Oh, we can start in just a couple minutes, just waiting on some more people to get in here so we can get started. So just bear with me. Peanut needs to calm down. Yeah. He just got in trouble. He's kind of been full over the last couple days. He's a pistol. He's a brat. He's a brat. He's being a big brat right now. Damn, big old brat. Come on. Another minute or two, then we'll get started. Trying to give some more people time to get in here that like to be in here. done dinner yet? No. We're just gonna order something tonight. Order something cheap because we didn't lay anything out last night or anything. We kind of forgot to. We came home and of course got busy last night anyway. So didn't really get to mess with anything, didn't lay anything out. We're just gonna order something cheap tonight. Pizza sounds good. It just depends on where from. It depends on where from. It's gotta be from like the perfect spot in order to eat it tonight. And my opinion of the perfect spot around here isn't cheap enough. It's expensive over there, unfortunately. Hey, doing sloppy joes. Sloppy joes don't so bad. I like sloppy joe for hot dog toast. All right, a few more seconds. We're gonna get started here in just a minute. Try to get through this. Try to get through this. Few more seconds. Start knocking it out. All right. Have fun out there. Be careful, man. Good luck. Have a good night. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and get started. Going to get into this. So last week, we dealt with a couple parables. Parables are important, especially in the Bible, because the parables do the teaching to give us understanding of things that normally, if it was spoken plain out, we wouldn't be able to understand. The Bible tells us that our minds cannot fully comprehend all the wonders of heaven. So since we can't comprehend them all, if they were spoken plain out, we get parables to kind of help us understand certain lessons. Shut up, I hear there. To understand certain lessons. So he uses parables. So we had the parable of the wedding feast. We also had the question on paying taxes to Caesar. Jesus makes the very simple statement: what does Caesar give to Caesar? What does God give to God's? More or less. He looked at a coin. He took a coin, and the face on it was Caesar's face. It in essence, it was Roman money. So to pay Roman taxes with Roman money, you're just giving them their money back. It's much like our money today. The government prints our money and hands it out and makes us feel like we earn it and that we can call it ours. But in reality, it's just theirs. They tax it. They take it back any way they can. We complain about paying taxes. We complain about all this stuff. But unfortunately, in reality, we're just giving them their own money back. We're not really losing anything in the mix. So the thing to understand is when he says render to God what is God's, is we are his, we are the Lord's. He created us. And so we should reverence him and give ourselves over to him, follow him, trust in him, rely on him, and things like that. So we kind of had that. There was also a question about the resurrection. The Sadducees questioned Jesus about the resurrection because they do not believe in a resurrection. They don't believe in his existence or its power. So they decided to question to try to get him to trip up about it. So with doing that, they asked him a bunch of questions about, if a man married a woman and the man died and the woman married the brother and that man died and she married the other brother, so forth, all through 7 brothers, she ended up marrying all 7 brothers. In the resurrection, whose wife would she be? And it was a trick question, but Jesus was smarter than that. So they want to know which commandment was first. The biggest first main commandment that there um, is love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. That's the first. That's the greatest commandment there is. Follow that. If you follow that, everything else will fall in line anyway. It's that commandment of love that will allow all the rest of the commandments to fall in line. They'll be right there. So, all right. So we had a lot of questions and a lot of trickery from the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees we talked about last week. So now that they've come in and they've tried to do their thing, they've tried to trip him up, they've tried to get him to say something he shouldn't, they've tried to cause a lot of grief. Jesus speaks on the scribes and the Pharisees. So chapter 23 starts like this. It says, then Jesus spake to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. So basically what he's saying is they sit in Moses' seat. They put themselves in a high-ranking position and make themselves more important than what they are. He says, whatever they bid you to observe, observe that. They have a very big focus on, so they're very knowledgeable in the scrolls of the Old Testament. They're very knowledgeable in the Ten Commandments, very knowledgeable in what life as a Christian should be. And they will teach or minister in that way, but yet they don't live it themselves. So he's like, observe what they say, and do what you observe, but do not after their works, for they say and do not. So they don't practice what they preach. It's like a preacher standing up in front of a church and saying, don't sin, don't do this, don't lie, don't cuss, don't drink, don't swear, don't do drugs. But then again, when they go home, they're drinking, they're strung out on drugs, they lie, they steal, all this other stuff. It's like they tell you to live right, but they don't live right themselves. I'm using that as an extreme, it's kind of an extreme case to get you to understand exactly what's going on here. So it's not practicing what you preach. It's not following what they say to do. So he says, don't do after the works, for they say and they do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. They put all of this responsibility and the lifestyle of being a Christian on your shoulders. They put all of that there, tell you to live it, but yet they will not themselves. They put themselves above living by those rules, above living by those laws. Can you turn it down a little bit? So, the importance of living by what they say and living by what they do is a huge difference. He says, but all they do for to be seen of men, that they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. So what they do, the way they live, the commotion that they let on, the lifestyle they live, they do it just for show and to get recognition. There are so many people I've known, ran into, and been around so many so-called Christian people that they'll pray out loud, and they'll say this great big long out loud prayer, touch everything and mention everybody they can think of in it. But in their heart, they don't believe any of it. They're just doing it for attention. They do it for people to recognize them and to see them. And there's nothing in it. One of my biggest things, and many people may not agree with this, is there are musicians, there are groups of musicians out there that will create Christian style music and sing it and use it to say, oh, this is a good uplifting song, but they have no Christian values or morals whatsoever. They don't even really care about the song that they're singing. They just wrote words on a paper. It's all for show. It's all for money. It's all to bring attention to them. A lot of people, a lot of music artists, when they start make it big, when they start to get noticed, one of the first things they'll do is they'll release a Christian album or an album with hymns and stuff like it on it to bring attention. And then all of a sudden you start hearing how they're thanking God for the fame and glory that they've gained through their singing and all and everything that, when in reality God is not any part of their lives. Behind the scenes, they're cracked out, they're strung out on drugs, they're drinking, they're living lifestyles that are not becoming of a good Christian. You see all this stuff, and it's all hypocrisy. It's puffing themselves out. They want people to see them for what they do and not how they live. He says they make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. The big fancy clothes and high dollar outfits and all this other stuff. So it says they love the uppermost rooms of the feast, the chief seats in the synagogues, the greetings in the markets, and to be called of men Rabbi, Rabbi, which is master. And he says, be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. But he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. I can't emphasize enough, and I speak on this a lot. Anytime I have Bible study, anytime I talk to a church, anytime we talk about stuff like it, I cannot emphasize enough how nobody is greater than the other. I know there are churches that will take their pastor or their preacher, or they'll take an evangelist. They will put them on a pedestal. They will make them greater. They'll make them out to be something. They will exalt them as if they are this great individual that can do great things. But in reality, they are nothing more, should be nothing more than just another obedient servant to God. I know a church that took their pastor, put him on a pedestal. There are people that will not go to this church because the pastor is no longer around. The pastor was nothing special. He was not anything greater than the pastor that is there now. He's not anything more. He's not more powerful. He's not more spiritual or anything like that. We cannot put that type of respect and pressure on an individual man. We cannot exalt them up. I know pastors and preachers that they put themselves on a pedestal. Well, I'm this, so I deserve to be treated better. I deserve better. I should be reverenced more, and all this other stuff. And that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. If you look up pastor, if you look up preacher, if you look up apostle, disciple, any of that stuff, if you start looking at the definitions of stuff, you're going to see that in these definitions, a lot of them are associated with servant. And that's what he says, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. Our job, if you're called to be a preacher, if you're called to be a minister, if you're called to be a pastor, your job is to be a servant. Serve the people, serve the church, teach them what it means to be humble, show them what it means to walk the humble life, and serve. Quit trying to make yourself out to be something more than what you are. We are not anything greater. There's one great, and that is God. There is one master, that is Christ. There was one Father, that is God. We are just simple, humble servants trying to do the will of God and fulfill his word. That's all we are. It don't matter what position you hold. There's so much emphasis put on certain positions, and not one is any greater than the other. And we need to stop making that so. He said, whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. He that shall humble himself shall be exalted. Listen, you'll be lifted up, not by people on this earth, but you'll be lifted up by God. God will look at what you're doing when you show how that you are a humble and willing servant to his will. He will exalt you up. He will lift you up. He will look at you and glorify you. He will find that pleasure in that. Don't be that person that looks for all the glorification and acceptance from this world. All it from is from God. That's it. That's all you need. Okay? He says, to whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. He that shall humble himself shall be exalted. But what do you, scribes and Pharisees? He straight to them, and he calls hypocrites. For ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, for ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. You shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. You make it impossible to get into heaven. You talk a lifestyle and you teach a lifestyle that it is impossible to live up to your standards. It says, and you neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour those houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. These guys that are doing this, they're going to receive a greater damnation. They're going to see that what they're doing is fake. He says, you do long prayer for pretense. You do it for recognition. You devour those houses. If debts are owed, they would absolutely take your house. They would leave you homeless. They would take everything you own to pay the money that's due to them, or they feel that's due to them that they're entitled to. They have no care, no concern, and no worry for the individual. He says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. That's 3 times. He says, for you compass the sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, you make him twofold more the children of hell than yourselves. Proselyte, they're stealing. They're going around and they're visiting other places. They're hitting other churches. They're visiting other temples. They're stealing people and changing them to their way of thinking and pushing that on them and lifting them up. And it says, you're making them twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. You're making it worse. He says, woe to you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. Whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of God, and by him that sitteth thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithes of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Their focus is on the rich and the wealth of the temple. Not that it's being given and being used to the glory of God, but that the wealth that is given, the money that is going in, the proceeds that they're taking in, is going to enrich themselves and their lives. They do not care, and they are not focused at all whatsoever on what is helping to further God's ministry, further the teaching of the kingdom of heaven. They literally have no concern about that anymore. They do not care about how God feels about things and what he thinks and how they should be living. They say they do with their mouth. They'll say, how they love God and how what they're teaching is God's will. But in reality, it is not the will of God. It has nothing to do with the will of God. Everything that they do is up to make themselves more, make them richer, make their happier lives, put them higher up in stature. It got so bad that what they had done was they had put themselves at such a high authority that they became the lawmakers and they became the deciders for the Jewish nation. Even when the Roman Empire come in and took over the area and had control, they would make laws with the Romans, the governor of the land or the Caesar. They would create those laws, and they were the ones that were gone to for decisions to be made. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. We'll hear a little bit more about that when we come into when Jesus is actually taken it and before Pilate. So he says, "You blind guides which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup, of the platter, and of the platter, but within they are full of extortation, and excess. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also." What he's telling them is they've cleaned up the outside. They make themselves look holy. On the outside, they wear fancy clothes. They wear, the robes of the church and of the temple. But in reality, on the inside, there's nothing there. They're dirty. They're covered in filthy sin. There is no cleansing. Jesus is teaching everything. If you look at everything that he teaches, if you look at everything that he goes through, his teaching talks about the cleansing of the inside, the healing of the soul, the cleansing of that, and then the healing of the body. If the soul is cleansed, if it gets cleansed, if it's purified, the outside will be cleansed therefore as well. You get cleaned from the inside out. That's the only way to do it. You can't clean from the outside in. There is nobody. I know there are several people. There's been several people that say, "Well, I before I can turn to the Lord, I need to quit drinking, or I need to quit drugs, or I need to clean up my mouth before I can turn to him, or before I can accept him." In reality, you don't need to quit any of that stuff. All you need to do is come to him, let him cleanse the inside, the outside will come. The cleansing from the drugs, the cleansing from the alcohol, the cleansing from sin, from fornication, all that cleansing will come on the outside when the cleansing in the inside happens first. Don't think that you need to clean yourself up before presenting yourself to God. For one, God already knows where you're at, can already see you. So if he's knocking at your door, he already knows where you're at and what you're doing. He already knows the state that you're in. Don't run from him. Accept him and let him do the cleaning from the inside out. That's the only way it's going to happen. He says, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness." Filthy with sin, covered with it. On the inside, you can purdy up the outside all you want to. You can take a cup, polish the outside, clean around it, all that want, but when you look inside, if you've not cleaned the inside of that cup, the stains of whatever was in there is in there. So, clean the inside, then clean the outside. It says, "Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity." You're ate up with it. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. If we'd have been around, this wouldn't happen. They wouldn't have got martyred and we wouldn't have killed them. But in reality, you're the children of them that did it. It was your people. The same way that it's your people that killed John the Baptist. It's your people that's going to kill Jesus. It's your people that's going to kill Peter. It's your people that's going to do all the crucifixion and killing of the disciples and the prophets. It's going to be you. So you're not any better. Don't try to make yourself to be better. He says, fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, wise men, and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge your synagogue and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous bloodshed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. I mean, it's the sins of the father and the fact that they're not learning from their ancestors. They're not learning from the mistakes that their ancestors made. They're following in the exact same footsteps, and they've made it worse. And then sat there and hollering that if it would have been them, things would have been different. It's not the case. He said, how are you going to escape damnation when you're falling into the same stuff? Since you prophets, wise men, scribes, you're going to kill him, you're going to crucify him, you're going to scourge him, you're going to persecute him. You're going to pay the penalty of all this. Their blood will be on your hands. And Jesus' heart just breaks. It just breaks at this point. It's rough to see this and rough to deal with. He says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and you would not? How many times have I tried to bring you together? How many times have I tried to protect you, and you wouldn't accept it? You wouldn't take it. You have nothing to do with it." It says, "Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord." They're not going to accept him. They're not going to see him until the day that he comes back. They're not going to recognize him. And there are Jewish people today, there are people in Israel today that still do not accept him as the Messiah. They're still waiting on the Messiah to show up and come. But he's already been here. He's already came. He's already brought salvation to the world. He's already gave the plan. He opened the door and has ascended up to the right hand of the Father, waiting for the time to come call his church home. It's all what they're waiting for has already happened. They just didn't want it to be in the hands of somebody that looked so common. They wanted a big, glorious, fancy king that had riches and was going to make them a hierarchy themselves. And that wasn't the plan. That's not God's plan. There will be no kingdom here on earth because the earth is going to be completely destroyed. They're looking for an earthly kingdom that's going to last, and it's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. So, all right, that's the end of chapter 23. Not very long, a lot in it. A lot of persecution and a lot of putting the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the scribes in their place, showing them where they belong, and giving instruction to us. Even if somebody is telling us that we need to live right, we need to live by the laws, we need to do this, just because they aren't doing it doesn't give you reason to not do it. I was once questioned on tithing in the church. We had a big discussion on it and things like that, and I was asked if I tithed in the church. And I said, well, yeah, I do. And the individual says, well, because why I wasn't going to tithe in a church where the pastor wasn't tithing. They apparently assumed that I wasn't tithing. Listen, whether I'm tithing or not, whether your pastor is tithing or not, whether they're living the right life or anything like that, you have to regardless. If you don't think they're living right, you still have to. You can't stand before God on the day of judgment and say, well, pastor wasn't doing it, so I wasn't doing it. He's not going to, God's not going to look at you and say, oh, got it. The pastor wasn't, so you didn't. You're okay. Skippity-doo one in the gates. He's not going to say that. It's not going to happen. That's going to be found. If I'm wrong, the sin in my life is going to be found against me and I'm not going to be entered in. If you're doing the same thing because I didn't do it, it's going to be sin in your life. We're going to be hanging out together. You're going to be stuck with me for eternity in torment. You have to work out your own salvation. You cannot do it. And just because they're the pastor doesn't mean that you're going to get a pass because they aren't doing what they need to do. You are your own person. Very true. You have to live your Christian life. Don't put your blame on somebody else. Whether I'm living it right or not, you have to live right. If I'm standing up every Sunday and telling you, you have to live without sin, but yet I'm living with sin, guess what? You still have to live without sin. Just because I have sinned, it's not going to excuse you living with sin. You still have to live sin-free. I'm sorry if you don't like that. I'm sorry if you disagree with that. But when you stand before God, he's going to look at you and say, you have to live without sin. You should have lived without sin. Nobody's going to get a pass because their pastor had sin. Nobody's going to get a pass because the deacon had sin. Nobody's going to get a pass because their parents had sin. And because they didn't, you didn't. That's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. You have to walk your own righteous path. You have to make it to heaven. As a pastor, as a preacher, as a teacher, I'm here to lead and guide you down that path. That's my job. I can't take you there. I can't stick you in my pocket and carry you there. I can show you the path and try to help you learn how to walk it. But I can't drag you down the path and I cannot make you walk it. If you don't want to walk it, that's on you. If you choose not to walk it because you think or you feel that I'm not walking it right, that's on you. And just know, when you stand before God, you're going to answer for it. Everybody's going to answer for their own. So this excuse that, the preacher isn't living right, he's living in sin, or pastor isn't doing this like he's supposed to, so if he's not doing it, I'm not going to do anything to benefit the church. I'm not going to live that way when he's telling me I have to and he's not doing it. That crap is not going to fly with God. You're not going to be able to live off that excuse. Okay? If I'm not living it, I'll get turned away. If you're not living it, you'll get turned away. That's just kind of how it is. So, I'm not going to get a soapbox on that, but you can't blame somebody else for you not walking the right path, especially when whether you like it or not, you're being told the right way to walk. It's just not going to work. You got to walk your path regardless. Right? So many people, I get so tired of hearing, well, they're going to heaven, I'm going to make it just fine because they're doing this and they're doing that and they live this way and they say this and they say that stuff. It's not going to work. That's not going to work. You're not being a very good Christian by thinking that way anyway. So, but I'm not gonna stay on that very long. But anyway, that's the end of chapter 23. We're going to get into chapter 24 next week. We're going to talk about some things over there. The prediction of the destruction of the temple. We're going to see a little bit about the signs of the times of the end. Matthew chapter 24 is a very good chapter to read. We're going to see a little bit about the Great Tribulation, coming of the Son of Man, the parable of the fig tree, and clarify for people that nobody knows the day or hour that Jesus is coming back. Okay. So we will clarify that next week. All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out. Not too bad. 40 minutes. We started about 7 or 8 minutes in. So just a little over 30 minutes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I appreciate y'all. Back next week, next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, getting into Matthew chapter 24. If you want to read ahead, go read it. Know what it says. Get with it. Other than that, appreciate you guys. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys later. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.
Well, when I left my father's house, I was supplied